start on Monday, because this weekend is my engagement party.
Yes, it's Monday, Sunday.
Monday?
Engagement party Sunday.
Yeah.
Talking about this Monday? What are you talking about?
Let's get into this.
Woo, here we are, man.
Coach Christian.
Coach Brik.
I am under the impression that this is my engagement party.
It's Sunday, correct, yes.
Correct.
You said Monday, though.
Monday we will start.
Oh, I got you. Misunderstood. Miscommunication.
Yes.
Tower of Babel in the making. Sunday it is. Definitely your engagement party.
Monday, I'm going to restart 75 hard.
And apparently I just found out that that's exactly what I'm doing as well. I was just talking about procrastinating because I haven't started phase 3 yet. Phase 3 has a couple more things to it. And to be quite honest, I've fallen out of that pattern. And all I'm doing is making excuses for not starting. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Like, no matter how good the reasoning is, and you want to use the word reasoning, it's still an excuse.
It's still an excuse.
It's still an excuse.
I have excuses also. Got COVID like in April, and it's just been really tough. Like, I just haven't been able to get back to the workout stuff, and that's my excuse. So
That's
you know,
legitimate.
things
And
are
how's
things
your
are getting
nutrition?
better. Nutrition's good. We were on the road for like a week. Spent a week in the woods, so that there was involved some eating outside of the
parameters.
outside the parameters
laid down. Yeah, that's fair.
But
enough.
yeah, nutrition's generally good.
That's kind of like survival at that point too.
It is survival.
Yeah, I mean that's legit.
And as soon as I got back already yesterday, back on the just eating meat, man. Like, there's a bunch of meat services. Like people talk about butcher block or butcher
Butcher block.
Mm-hmm. We use a thing called the Good Chop. Whatever it is, it's amazing, man. It's for one, I don't require a lot of food other than meat, so I kind of don't have to go to the store.
That's
Water comes out of the
tap.
faucet,
You're good.
and meat just shows up at my house.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
And it's just carnivore, straight up meat, no fruit, no vegetables. Because I'm ignorant to the carnivore. I haven't really looked into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put some berries in my smoothie here and there.
Because that's like one of the things that I found with the paleo diet when it was in full effect on, it was basically meat and fruit. It was what I was living off of, and it worked well. Particularly berries too.
Yeah.
Strawberries, blueberries.
So let's
things along those lines.
rephrase, because putting labels on shit is where things
are starting to go south in the entire world.
is where things go hokey.
Yeah, I'm gonna concur to that.
You know, like I eat mostly a meat diet, and but like I'll put like berries in my smoothie. I get like those bags of like it's like strawberry, blueberry, and blackberries, or something like that. Actually, I love berries, but I don't really. I'm not really into like a bunch of fruit anyway.
Yes, I'm a big
outside
fruit guy.
of like strawberries.
Fruit and fish, those are like my two things, and meat and berries seems to work well too. So
Yeah, so I guess maybe I am eating paleo, because I am throwing in like berries and shit. But
it sounds like a very hunter-gatherer type kind of lifestyle, especially given the week you had in the woods, and you know, kind of fits that style and that mindset and the energy behind why people get behind paleo, right?
this week in the woods was so magical.
That's amazing, man.
It was so magical, man. It was awesome to watch the river grow, because we got there, and the weather was nice, and the river looked so calm, and I could see halfway between, like, from our piece of land, halfway across the river to the other side, there was a tire in the river. It made me very upset. I told Baby Channel, I'm like, once we set up camp and everything, we're coming out here.
I'm getting rid of that tire.
We're getting rid of that tire. Like, I don't want to see trash in the river. The river's so pretty. We had to make like a rope ladder to get down like to the river, and watch our whole very high-tech podcast system go crashing right now.
Yeah, it's about to have a...
He's like, how do...
Whoa. Here it comes. We were watching Mr. F navigating.
Navigating.
And he's not cat-like.
He's the opposite.
Yes.
Hey,
there you
buddy.
go. I think he just found his route.
All right. So, we
Tire.
we're checking out the river, and it's very calm and very pretty. I have plans on getting this tire out because, leave things cleaner than you found them, which was a big part of us being in the woods for 5 days, 6 days. It starts raining. You can no longer see the tire. The river keeps rising for
That quickly.
2 days. And by the time Annalise and the boys get there, we now have like camp set up. Like we're on a slope, so like I dug out like our picnic table so that it would sit flat because I put the grill on it and the grill went flying. All fun stuff. But I'm walking out like on this tree. We'll pause this.
Yeah, keep going.
We won't actually pause it because we're not great on the editing tip. We did manage to get that Brady video in. Go, you're out. Boom. Thank you, brother Brik. Our studio per se is chaotical because of all the camping gear.
Chaotical. It's a new adjective in the making.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, camping
Trademark.
gear, off-road stuff,
Chaotical.
recovery gear.
Might be a good name for a band.
Chaotical?
Chaotical.
Straight to chaotical,
Very
bro.
chaotical. That might be it. There you go. Trademark on the fly.
Yes, I'm walking out on this tree, this down tree, and I realize it starts to rotate while I'm on it, and I lost my balance and I fall back. But I had tied a rope to myself, kind of being funny, like so the river doesn't pull me away. It actually
Almost
would
pulled
have yanked me completely out of there. I couldn't touch the bottom, and the current was just like, and I'm like, somebody pull me in.
Wow, man. Straight up survival in the making.
Yeah, that river picked up really, really fast. Very pretty, very awesome. As we were driving out of the property, there's rafting outfitters everywhere.
Whoa.
Very, very cool spot. Very, very blessed to. We scooped up a little piece of property. We have our own little corner of America
A little outpost.
on the river, and that's what we're discussing right now. We had an awesome time. We spent our Memorial Day weekend, made it very long, camping and off-roading, seeing like all the dirt roads and the
Not roads.
not roads and the forests, And it's crazy how much trash we picked up along the way.
It's actually not crazy. It's actually disheartening.
It's disheartening.
Yeah, I mean, I travel a lot around the world, and I remember the first time I went down to Mexico, and I guess it's been like 90 something or another, 98, 99, and it was heart-wrenching to see the amount of plastic. And what was seared in my mind is how much that plastic was American companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi and things like that, and then beer companies. But there's a certain disregard, and that's like one of the things we're really big on with the kids too. I'm really big with teaching my kids and then all the kids that we work with about taking care of the dynamics of our world just by simply taking care of your own stuff, man. If everyone just took care of their own space, did their own thing, took care of their own 6 feet, right? That whole 6 feet, everyone wants social distance. Take care of your own little 6 feet, and everyone does the same. We'd be doing really well.
We'd be doing great.
That's what we're teaching right now. I saw on the other day the Inter Miami, the David Beckham team, they released new jerseys, and the new jerseys, and I guess it's something with MLS, are recycled plastics from the ocean.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
so they're trying to have the whole league. From my understanding, I haven't looked into it, so I know that it's a shirt. I don't know if it's going to be all the kits for the teams, but they're all doing that. And then apparently David Beckham and their organization has started a regular beach cleanup, and I had a couple players go out and just bringing awareness to it. I mean, it's just, I know it's marketing from their perspective, but everything at some point is putting those drops in the right direction. So
yeah, 100%. We did a bunch of driving on the Georgia Overland Traverse, which is very pretty. We managed to have to pick up garbage at every campsite we stayed at. And it's all primitive camping, right? Like, to think that someone would go that far out of the way
and be that disconnected to leave trash.
and be that disconnected to leave trash, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's like it's the dynamic of going out and camping and not taking care of making sure your fire's out, especially if you're camping in California or high or just dry places. Period, have high risk for fire. It's like that's a responsibility. And I think people are very conscious of it. It's such a visual one, and even though people mess that up, trash is a lot more subtle.
A lot more subtle.
Yeah,
Equally heartbreaking.
equally long term. So we'll work on it. Keep teaching the kids and we'll start our own initiatives. And I know a lot of people are on that path doing that kind of work. So
Yeah.
and I think that even ties in some weird way. It's like I know Memorial Day is really about remembering fallen soldiers, but if we're remembering the fallen soldiers, part of what they're giving their lives for was to protect this piece of land. And ironically, some people will be really tunnel vision on viewing their perspective of what that means, and then ignore something else. And it's all of it, though, right? All of it, because we're all American. We're all part of this melting pot of humanity. So all those little dynamics, all those little things, feed into the greater picture.
Yeah.
So this weekend with Memorial Day, with being able to do the Murph was a good opportunity to tap into that again and think about things that matter. And then looking up the original. One of the things I read, because I think say it's the fact of, but I guess the first Memorial Day was 1865, and it involved the burying of Union soldiers by 4,000 Black Americans at the time that were being grateful to the soldiers who had fought on the Union side and gave up their lives, and they were all just like in these graves that were just mass graves, and they actually went, apparently pulled everybody out and just reburied them in a respectful, proper manner. And I think that just goes across the board, because whether they were Union soldiers or Confederate soldiers or Ukrainians or Russians, or it's just these are people putting their lives out on the line, and trying to respect that aspect of it. The best way of doing so is by being the best you can be.
Yeah.
All around. So with that, we rolled into Murph. We had a good one. Able to do it RX. For those of you that don't know Murph, I can't imagine if you're watching this podcast this far and you don't know Murph, it'd be very unlikely. But it is that mile run, that 100 push-ups, 200 pull-ups, 300 air squats, mile run with
100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups.
What did I say? I said it backwards?
You said it backwards.
Oh, that's there you go, man. I've said it so many times in the last couple of days. See, there you go. Edited on the fly. So that's what we did, and the mile run at the end, and it was good. I had moved at a nice pace. Did it in an hour and 27 minutes, but we were enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Talking, hanging out, and just.
And I think that's the point.
Yeah, I'm not a hunter. I'm not competing. This isn't any competition. It's about, enjoying the moment and going through it.
Being grateful. I think
Grateful.
For me, it hits home when we do Murph every Wednesday. Generally.
Except for the last 3 weeks, which is really what we needed leading into the Murph.
But generally,
Murph is a regular part of our workout.
Before I got COVID, it's a thing we do very regularly. And look, specific to the sport that we're into, it's something you should do regularly. You should be doing 100 pull-ups at least once a week. If your sport consists of hanging from stuff, right? Swinging from stuff, hanging from stuff. It's just, you're just doing yourself a disservice if you're not. So we do this Murph thing a lot. But Murph hits me emotionally when it's Memorial Day weekend, because it was a transitional weekend in my life.
Personal.
Like, it was that Memorial Day weekend when I got in the accident, which started this entire ripple effect
This
of
whole journey.
This whole journey.
So
right?
this whole trail, part of that journey.
Yeah. This path of destruction.
Yeah. Past the resurrection.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Destruction, though. I had to kill the ego for sure.
Yeah.
To move
Okay.
forward.
There's no question about that. Yeah.
There were a lot of parts of myself.
Death and rebirth.
That I had to choke out permanently to be able to move forward.
I like the visual. Not extinguish, but literally choke out.
Literally.
Like watch the
to watch myself die.
Extinguish. Yeah.
Very, very for real. So I'm grateful. And when I get in those pull-ups, and they get tough, and I'm always thinking, I'm like, man, when I weighed 300 pounds, like I couldn't do a pull up. And when I got in this accident, and the doctors kind of made me feel like I was never gonna do anything ever again.
They seem to have a tendency of doing that. Doctors do. The best of intentions. I mean, I don't think they're being malicious, but faith is a big factor there.
Faith is such a big factor.
It's a huge factor.
And to think that I went from not doing a pull up ever to then like now, every week we're banging out this 100 pull ups.
And some days daily, depending on what program
and
we're on.
some days daily.
Yeah,
and
depending
it's
if we're doing that.
And I'm so grateful, and it always hits me like on that weekend, because it's just a reminder. 15 years, and also how much you can change in 15 years. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people go through things and then they think that that their life is over. I mean, even I'm a completely different person. I think I'm better in every aspect.
I mean,
and if I'm not, I try to work on
that's the
things.
goal, right? It's constant improvement. And I think that's the dynamic of getting older is you start acquiring that wisdom, and part of that wisdom is knowing what not to do, through the trials of doing it that way wrong. So I think, the idea is we keep learning and moving forward. I mean, every teacher, every mentor, everyone's going to teach that. The learning doesn't stop, ever, and it shouldn't. And the reinventing ourselves. I think that's the biggest thing that I try really sharing with people. I come across, I actually had a reunion this past weekend. I went to
I want to hear about it.
Yeah, I went to Miami Beach High, and we had this amazing program called Rock Ensemble. So it was like, how you go to class, if you had jazz band or orchestra or chorus or whatever it was, we had one that was rock, and we were able to learn rock songs. And what was phenomenal for us was that their teacher, I want to say phenomenal for us because it sounds bad saying that he had multiple sclerosis, but what was phenomenal was the impact that this individual had on our lives, teaching us from a wheelchair. So in 1972, he was able still to walk into Miami Beach High, and by the time he retired, and I guess it was about 7 years ago, to 2000, whatever that was, I don't want to misspeak, he left there still in fairly decent health. For someone who has multiple sclerosis to live into their 60s is rare, and he had a huge impact on our lives. So we were able to do a tribute 50 years of this class, and what was phenomenal is there was 106 musicians from all the years. So one of his students, Sammy Gonzalez, he went through the program, graduated in 2006, and went off and had his journey, finally went through college and came back, and the short of the long is took over the program. So one of our former students, who also is a professional musician who played around and has that real rock and roll ethos, took over the class. And I share this because, we ended up doing, I guess it was like 17 songs in the whole slew of things, and the last 4 songs was a medley by the graduating class of 2022. These are all 17, 18-year-old kids, maybe some 16-year-olds. And they did 4 songs. The 2 songs that stuck in my mind right now that I can think of is Bohemian Rhapsody is what they did last. They ended it. There was like 40 people on stage, and the kid with the guitar, and he just wailing away, and just the girl singing. It was just such a hope for the future. Like this rock and roll is still like alive, and these kids are still bringing it on and still doing things, and it was seeing a lot of my old friends and a lot of my old classmates, and just wanting to be that that inspiration of like, hey, you guys are doing great. Some of them were, but we always can push ourselves to be better, especially in the health department, especially taking care of ourselves and how we're training and how we're eating and what we're doing, and we have the full gallery barking off in the background. Full gallery. I know what they're going off to, but what stuck in my mind was that aspect of just self-care and still taking care of ourselves, because here we are. There was one of the guys that got up to play was the original drummer from 1972. That guy's like in his early 60s, and he looked great. Awesome. Maybe some aspect of the music too, this rock and roll, those of us that kept on playing, kind of feeds your soul in some way.
I think one of the most important parts about that is the health of our inner child.
Wow. Oof.
You know what I'm saying?
That's deep. Yeah, man, you nailed it.
Getting out there.
Wow, man, you nailed it.
How many of you guys watching this have gave up whatever it was? And every time I'm in California and I'm with John Canepa, we get on mountain bikes and ride. He still rides every single day. I only ride when I'm out there with him. As soon as I get on that bike, I'm back to the Norba Nationals in 1996.
So you're like 14 again, 15,
Yeah,
16.
I'm back to trying to prove something, and riding with my buddy, getting up on his rear tire.
It's the same exact
And
energy.
it comes right back.
It does, and that's what. And that was one of the motivations. One of the organizers that puts together on their end was
Let this guy
exactly
in before he has
wanted to do before he like knocks the whole door down. Wanted to get us musicians playing again, and I had taken a little bit of a hiatus from playing. So this way, there you go. All right, navigating it. All right, there you go. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just watching this buffalo come across.
Our gentle giant.
Completely. And I had personally stopped playing for a little while, or just not stopped, but just put it on the back burner. And through all of this, it just all came back up again. And the core of what you're saying was that I think all 106 musicians that were there that evening, we were all back in high school. We were all 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And for those of us in that class, I'd say about 80% of us really ended up being musicians. There was a 20% that went on and did other things. And I say that not that they went out and tried starting bands, but they kept on playing. It was still part of their lives. It was for all of us, but for some of us a little bit more than others. Some hadn't played in many years, and some of us had just played the weekend before. So we ran the whole scope, but we were all, cultivating that inner child again, connecting with that pureness of what life was and ultimately should be, right? Pure in the moment, living life.
Yeah.
And knowing that you can do it. That's the biggest thing. I think that's what we do with the people, the adults around us, and the kids. Really, fostering and nurturing that inner child so that it stays alive, because there's power in that pureness of wanting to do something for the love of, right? Love of music, love of bike riding, love of whatever
Of whatever it was when we were kids,
Mm-hmm.
that so many people let go of.
Life kind of sometimes beats it out of you. And look, there's some people in high school that didn't have it, that were disconnected, that were not plugged into that, for whatever reason, however they got to that point. I think finding that driving path inside of us is very important. And for me, it's the kids. It's the next generation. It's about leaving this world as best a place as possible. That's why it always comes up to us, because, part of the thing is we're two dads.
Two dads.
Yeah.
Every time I'm with my little kid,
That's not so little.
not so little at all. Every time I'm with her, I try to get to the go-kart track, try to get her behind the wheel with me so we can push the envelope a little bit. But this week, she was behind the wheel and I was in the passenger seat, driving on the highway and the roads and stuff.
Wow.
She's a pretty good driver. She's a little baby champ.
That's amazing. That's and the evolution of life,
Yeah.
Nothing stops time. It just keeps moving. So if that's the reality that we live in, let's do the best to guide it. Take a responsibility for ourselves, and that includes the health. Because the better we are as individuals, the better we are for our families and those around us. I always think of that analogy in the airplane, and it's always stuck with me. It's like you put on your own face mask first, your own oxygen mask, so you can help everybody around you. Because if you end up passing out and dying, and then everybody around you, you're no use to anybody. If anything, you just got in the way. So I always use that analogy. And right now, it's like, this is what we are as a society. There's fucking canaries falling all around us, right? All around us, canaries are dying right now. So we need to take heed to that and pay attention, and and do the best we can, starting with self. I keep saying it's about self, regardless of where you go from there. Definitely powerful, man.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a point where I'm supposed to stop being a kid.
I don't think there is. I really don't. And I think maybe that keeps us on the younger side, really tapping into that. That old, I'm a Toys R Us kid. You say that kids don't get it these days, but it always, was meant something. And I worked really hard at becoming an adult. I wanted to be grown up and hang out with the older dudes and be seen that way. And to be able to tap into that inner child and be a child again. And even before teenage, because teenage I was trying to be cool, but being just a kid, having children helped me with that. having my daughter made me a lot more playful, and now my son with his toys and his Hot Wheels, and it's just like, kind of reliving that, and it's cool because it does foster an energy, and it's a pure energy, and I think you feed off of it in a really good way, and then you share that with other kids too, so it's great.
Yeah. It's I know, like, the last time I went snowboarding, I noticed it's I'm still like a little kid trying to learn stuff all the time.
Yeah, I can see that.
It hasn't gone away
And
at all.
and it shouldn't. I mean,
Like, I'm constantly trying to figure things out that I couldn't do before. Man, and one of the cool things I saw a lot of cool stuff when we were in the woods for the week, basically. People camping everywhere, which is amazing, right? Generally, with people off-road, everybody's cool. It's good camaraderie and stuff. When you get to points in the trail, people pull off to let people by, all that stuff. But I saw so many kids outside
that's awesome.
not doing this shit.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Because there's no goddamn signal in the woods.
They have to live it. And I think that, the blessing with that is those families and those people have the ability and the opportunity to do so. It's being able to bring that back to the kids that can't, right? And it's like the experiences you guys have had before with the foundation,
Yeah.
taking some inner city kids and, throwing them in a Hummer and heading up into the woods is
And I think that
such an amazing
actually
experience.
is what you just said. We talked about for basically the whole 5 days we were off-road.
Yeah.
When you're off-roading, it very much is like being in a Spartan race in a car.
Totally.
There's parts that are chill and you could just walk through, but then when you get to obstacles, there are things that you have to find ways to overcome.
Have to traverse.
And when you're in a car, you can't burpee out. Like, we had to strategize. We had to figure out how we were going to hit different things. And then we had to have already a plan of, all right, if this goes south, how are we going to hook up this car to yank this other car out? And then also dealing with the responsibility of one of the kids that was with us. His Jeep had to get home
Unscathed.
Yes. While still doing all of the off-roading and getting all of the lessons on how to drive off-road and learning all those experiences without hitting anything. We got close. We put that thing on 3 wheels. We almost slid it into a tree.
That's amazing.
But
survived.
man, not a scratch on it.
It's phenomenal.
But it really is like a Spartan race, and the fact that we were never in a hotel. We were outside the entire time. 3 of the days was torrential downpour for like 90% of the day.
Wow.
So you're dealing kind of like being at a race. You're dealing with all these elements. Yeah. Everything is wet. Everything is muddy. You have to find solutions around things. And as we were out there, we drove by Tree Down, which is that epic story of being with the Hummer and the kids on the Georgia Traverse and getting stuck in a down tree that we couldn't cross. So every time I walk by Tree Down, maybe I can insert a Tree Down.
Right here.
Boom.
This is it. I come back here
We'll
all
see
the
if we just
time.
made that happen.
Tree down, baby. Tree down. This is it. Conquered over and over again.
It's a big deal for me every time I cross it, even though now there's no tree there. Just driving past that point on my GPS is like a little.
It's a core memory.
Little victory.
Yeah, it's a core memory for sure.
And I'm like, man, this is actually what I thought this foundation was gonna be about. And right now, I spent a weekend thinking about that's exactly what I want, is to bring back that.
100%. Yeah.
I don't want to say that I don't care about the other things that we're doing. Yeah, all the other things are great, but kids could do the other things.
I think it for you personally ends up being the why.
It's the why.
Yeah, it's the why. And
Like,
I can see that.
It's not just
there's a lot of whys, I think, in the foundation, a lot of aspects, but that seems to be a really important one. That's unique. That can be very unique to the Warrior Focus Foundation. Being able to take
to be out in the
get out there and do
elements
that.
and have to conquer the elements.
Yeah.
You know, and have to make fire when everything is wet.
That's
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
man.
those are awesome experiences, and they're the most awesome when things don't go as planned,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm never trying to have a curated experience of things being easy, because essentially I am uncomfortable when things are comfortable. Like, I want it to be hardcore for these kids, and the end result, like this weekend, that's how the kids had the most amount of fun, because it really was hardcore.
Yeah.
You know, and in that Jeep was the kids.
Mm-hmm.
There were no adults in that Jeep.
That's awesome.
They had a radio to us,
Wow.
and they had to pay attention, not goof off, like be
Yeah,
focused.
it's real. It's real life.
Real consequences.
Yeah.
You know, their Jeep was on 3 wheels coming down this creek. Like, it's
And so, it's like I can only see it's the same dynamic of when you accomplish that race and you finish. It's like sense of
it's the same
accomplishing.
thing. I mean, if
Sense
you
of-
had seen the look on this kid's face when, like, he gets through that first section, and then I'm still like guiding him down, and we get to this bottom, and you could tell that he like yanks the handbrake and hops out, and he's just like, whoo! Like, the look on his face,
That's
like
it.
it was like he just won $1 million.
That's it.
Oh man, it was so epic, and all of that was really being, having trust. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's when a car is on 3 wheels, there's a lot of things in your mind telling you to do things that might be different than what the spotter is telling you to do.
Yeah.
But that person spotting you has a very specific reasons why they're telling you to do
Yeah.
why we're sticking to whatever the plan is. And so I'm grateful that Daniel was like really focused on everything that I said.
And trusting.
And we got through, like, we probably had like a handful of very serious obstacles in this trip.
That's amazing.
And he handled all of them awesome. And for the other kids in the car, it was also like
Yeah.
awesome
It was-
experience.
it was,
awesome experience.
A becoming moment, right?
Yeah.
You know, those aspects. That's phenomenal. What an
Phenomenal.
awesome week.
And now we have this Camp Murphy that's dead center, like in the middle of all of these trails. You know, you have like one national forest this way, one national forest the other way.
Phenomenal.
And within like a few minutes, in any, within 30 minutes in any direction, east or west, we're on the Georgia Overland Traverse. We go north, we're into this other trail system.
That's amazing.
Epic.
So an opportunity to bring that back to the foundation.
I mean, that's always like my creating a warrior mindset. That's
Yeah.
always my underlining.
Yeah, in every
underlying
possible
goal.
way. And
Yeah.
and it's creating the warrior mindset. I had a parent yesterday at the gym thanking us for the program. You know, she's Israeli, went in the military, raising your kids here. So it's a certain edginess and a certain reality check that she feels that we were able to give the kids accountability, respect, simple stuff, just being able to speak up, just to, when you talk, how many times you talk to a 14-year-old and it's like, and sometimes even adults, because you carry that into your adulthood, so we don't want somebody to be able to be comfortable. And then we talked about the warrior mindset, and she's actually the one that mentioned it, so it's important. It's what we're doing, changing the lives, and that's going to be the impact, it's the ripple,
It is a ripple.
And,
yeah. And, and it's just a weekend or 4 days that these kids are changed forever after this.
Yeah,
weekend.
100%. Yeah.
Like this, this was so out of their zone. It's stories that these kids will carry with them.
That's awesome.
Forever.
And
Like, there is no, how do you put a price on that?
You don't. You absolutely don't. Not
don't.
that way, because it's like you have no idea what the repercussions long term, what that kid's gonna be able to do in life.
Yeah.
With the skill set. I mean, we see it all. We talk about it all the time with Baby Champ, and I see it as I'm putting it into my kids developing. My little one went out to the RNC show on the beach, and they had the marine station doing the pull-ups, right? And my wife said they were having a hard time getting 7, 8, right? And I was like, go do it. And she's like, no, she was being a little timid, but I think she needed a little bit of that. She wanted to be coaxed into it, and she jumps up there and busts out 10 strict pull-ups, right? And by like 6 or 7, they're all cheering her on, just like, whoa, because my wife says, you see the guy looks at her, goes, all right, like, okay, a little girl, puts her up, and she's doing strict all the way to the bottom, all the way up. She said the first 3, I didn't see the footage, but my wife said her chest actually was hitting, 'cause she was like really digging in.
Mini monkey.
That's it. And you jump down, and it's like, and what did that do? It's like, aside from her, it's like, I don't know, it was like 40, 50 people around there. It's like, that was just like in their mind. They etch this cute little girl comes up and powerfully, right? And just looks unassuming. And that's what, when teaching these kids that they can. And that teaches other people that they can. And motivates and inspires, and that's what we're trying to do here.
And that's all it is.
Man. Even what we're doing here, we're sharing this.
Yeah.
Whoever's taking the time to watch us, gets this far, thank you. We're just sharing.
We
sharing
appreciate
thoughts.
all of our small subscribers.
Yeah, the base. The base is growing. I mean, there's some messages and ideas and things that we're developing and growing. And just like with everything, with our own personal walk, it's always a learning process and expanding, getting better, and making things as best as possible.
Yeah. And disconnecting. I think that was like the big thing from this trip for me, was just disconnecting from the devices, like just being outside changes your frame of reference in your mind, like there, just the vibration was different while we were out there. Yeah. And I urge you parents, like, get outside, and if you have no idea how to start, hit us up.
Yeah.
And you don't have to overthink it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be expensive, and you don't have to.
It doesn't have to be so hardcore either.
It doesn't have to be hardcore.
Yeah, there's steps in that direction.
There are steps.
Yeah, that are amazing.
And it doesn't have to be primitive. I personally think the primitive camping is like the thing for me. Like, I don't ever go to like a KOA or like
campground or
a developed campground.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I like being outside. I like having to deal with all of it. Making a fire, having to. I bring my own fire ring. Like going to the bathroom, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Real. We actually ran out of water on this. It's important about preparation. And then my boy Sir William, he just posted a video on YouTube. If you guys follow him, The Adventures of Sir William, he ended up stuck without water. He was like in Utah, like hour away from water. So always being prepared, right? We did run out of water. There was 6 of us. We're in small Jeeps. We have a lot of gear, and we had 2 dogs, and we just couldn't keep as much water as we actually needed to. But
sounds like Creator was providing water though.
It was, yeah. We were,
lots of it.
We were at every campsite we stayed at. We were on the river, which is amazing. We had our cup. We'd go to the creek, fill it up, and we always have life straws.
Life straws work.
Not 1, not 2, but 3 or 4. I always have 1 in my book bag. There's always 2 inside that pink camping bin that you see there, right?
Life straws work great.
So important, guys. Dads especially, you're taking your kids out. You can't skimp on the water thing. We were out there for several days, and it turned out on the last day we did not have enough water with us. We had a water solution, and the reality is, if we didn't have the life straw and the creek right there, and it wasn't a very simple setup, I would have just set up camp, and I would have taken off and come back an hour later or so and gotten water.
You recon, you do what you have to do.
It's not something you can mess around with when you have little kids. You know what I'm saying? Even for adults, obviously, but
Different responsibility, younger.
Yeah, your kids got to stay hydrated for sure.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. I think we're good.
We're good.
I think so, man.
Yeah,
Got a lot of stuff to do. Well, next one we'll talk about Death Race. I guess I gotta do my entry video. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, let's do an entry video for Death Race.
Gotta make that happen and throw it down, and we'll be talking about Death Race.
Death Race is in a few weeks.
I'm 4 weeks. 4 weeks.
I'm still worried after doing the ultra about this Death Race.
I think that's.
Are we driving?
I don't know. Let's figure that out. TBD.
I think we're driving, and on the way back, we're
determined.
gonna stop at Camp Murphy.
That could work. Yeah. There you go. All right. Figure that out.
It's like halfway. It's 12 hours to
Right.
Camp Murphy, 12 hours from Camp Murphy to Pittsfield.
No, it's pretty. All right. It seems like we might have a plan in the making.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Brother Brik,
Brother Christian,
beautiful people.
thank you very much.
We out.
Stay blessed.